Street Level Radio, KLYC, the crews on the street, online, on the air, depend on us. We have just heard a new term today. It's called the SNAP gap. Now, what is the SNAP gap? Well, it has to do with the federal government shutdown and the possibility of a gap in food resources for the needy. On phone with us right now is Laverne Pitts, who I guess is the development director for YCAP. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell us what the SNAP gap is.
Essentially, what happened with the government shutdown was, in order to help people, they released the funds a little early. Normally, people would have received their February funds for SNAP at the first week of February. Because of the government shutdown, they released that 2 weeks early on January 18th. As a result, people will have been using those funds since January 18th that they normally would have received for an entire month. It's going to take 6 weeks before they get their next funding. So there's about 2 weeks of funding difference, than what they typically receive.
So there's a SNAP gap of 2 weeks where people might be running out of money and getting hungry.
Exactly. And so their next, the Department of Health and Human Services actually anticipated some of this. And so normally they would send out the new SNAP benefits in March. They would send it March 1st through the 9th, but because they're trying to mitigate this issue, they're going to be distributing all of those on March 1st this time around because they recognize this gap period and they're trying to reduce it as much as possible.
And then at some point, it'll kind of filter out and you'll get back to a normal schedule?
Correct. Then in April, it'll go back to a normal schedule, but they're trying to mitigate the problem of that 2 weeks extra that ended up being as 6 weeks instead of the normal 4 weeks.
So what
for
about
individuals who receive SNAP benefits?
What about the folks that are just kind of not quite making it and they're falling through the cracks there? I understand there's extra effort to get more food in the food banks. Is that correct?
Yes, we have actually received more food in that we've requested, and we're making sure that we have the food resources available because we anticipate our food pantry partners as well as our community meal sites will be receiving more requests for support over the next couple of weeks, and as such, we as the Regional Food Bank have been ramping up our resources here to make sure that we can help them out in the community provide service to those who need it.
Now, it is rather serendipitous, if you will, or a good coincidence that the meltdown is happening and you're going to be getting some cheese. How does that help?
Yes, we are. Cheese is actually pretty rare. I don't know if a lot of people remember, but back in, a few decades ago, free cheese was pretty common.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, I even remember receiving some free cheese as a child myself.
It was pretty good.
Through one of the government assistance programs. And so it's pretty rare, though, nowadays for us to receive cheese as one of our food items. But luckily, this time around, we had an opportunity, and so we were able to secure some of those to be brought in. So we have 1,110 pounds of cheese that's going to be coming in the next week or so that we'll be able to distribute out to the pantries and the meal sites.
How do people connect and get some of these resources if they're running short?
If they're running short, they can go to our website, which is yamhillcap.org, so just Yamhill and then CAP.org, and check out on where there's people who need resources and check out the food. We have a listing of all the food pantries and meal sites that are our partner agencies in the community. Those are the ones that we supply food to. And so they go to them directly. So St. Vincent de Paul, Hope on the Hill, all of those pantries and meal sites are related partners to our work here. And so they can go and approach them for additional support.
Laverne, is there anything else you would like to add?
Just want to thank everybody in the community who's been supporting us, both in December as well as during the meltdown, and who support the food bank throughout the year, because it is a year-long process. A lot of people do support us in December, but we do need food constantly throughout the year. And this is just one example as to why, is when the government shuts down and we might have a gap in February, that's when we also need additional food resources and the funds available to be able to secure those resources for people. So just want to thank everybody who supported us and continue to support us throughout the year.
Laverne Pitts is the Development Director of YCAP in Yamhill County. I'm Dave Salter Adams, AM 1260 KLYC News. Depend on us.